Hey Internet, welcome back to the Easy Riding channel. My name's Zach.
And I'm Emma. We were on a long ride back from Bisbee and had done the audio for this video then, but the audio ended up being messed up and didn't come through, so we're trying to do a voiceover after the fact.
Which honestly is going to be a lot easier because Emma's audio is always difficult to deal with anyway, but
On freeway speeds.
yeah, especially at freeway speeds. Let us know what you guys think about this format of the voiceover. I can imagine that it's going to be a lot more legible.
Intelligible.
Whatever the
Easier to understand.
whatever the audio word for legible is. It's going to be that. But let us know what you think of it. Maybe if this proves to be a better form, maybe we'll do more of it. We have done a fair amount of long distance riding in recent memory, and have done a fair amount of it on MAV in general for a while. And we thought it would be fun to go over some of the things that we like to do, the things we like to bring, the approach we take when we go on a long distance trip on a bike.
So we consider a long distance ride anything that's longer than about 2 to 3 hours, but it can change based on your own preferences and ideas. Just for us, if it's anything longer than a couple hours, we like to get off and move around and stuff.
Yeah, and that's going to change from person to person, what their tolerance for a long ride is, but
It's also going to change based on your bike too. If you have a bike that's more set up to be a touring or a long distance motorbike, then you might be able to go further distances than you could on, say, like a cafe racer or a scooter or something that's not set up that way.
very true.
We learned that too whenever we first got MAV, and the stock seat that it came with was not nearly as comfortable as the Russell Daylong that we switched it out for. Even though the bike is set up as a touring bike and it was set up to supposed to have a nice comfortable pillion seat, it was not very comfortable at all.
When you ride on a motorcycle, you often have a couple of things in your saddlebags that you take with you wherever you go. Those are not the things that we're going to talk about. We're more focused right now on the things that you need to add to your bags, or that we add to our bag when we're headed out for anything over a few hours worth of ride.
That's over and above just your general toolkit or things like that, your tire gauge, those kinds of things that Zach's talking about. So some of the things that I like to have for myself are chapstick, and I like to bring some sunscreen that's specific for face because you're stuck in your helmet for a long time and you don't want something that's greasy or oily, so I have a sunscreen that's specific for faces, and I'll put it on the back of my hands or whatnot like that. I also like having a set of earplugs. I always end up with one ear. It's usually my left ear that sounds more buzzy than anything else, and it gets annoying after a while, or just the really loud road noises going at freeway speeds can get in your head and make your head feel funky. So I like to bring a pair of earplugs to help with that. I also have water. Always important to have water. Zach and I usually have an Nalgene each in the saddlebag that we have. He usually has iced tea and I have water. Easy to grab snacks like granola bars or the little bags of nuts or something like that. That's easy to grab and easy to hang on to as well as you're going down
A pickle if you're shade tree surgeon.
pickle. Gum is good, or some like hard candies to suck on, that kind of stuff.
I always add, I've got a jump pack that we've purchased that has, it's a lithium battery pack that you can use to jumpstart even like a up to a small truck. I think it'll do something along those lines. But it means that if your battery goes dead, if you've left your lights on somewhere, or you get stranded and don't have electricity, you can jump without having to have another person there with jumper cables. So, and it's pretty small. And then we'll usually add, duct tape and zip ties and a couple of random accoutrements like that will help in a pinch.
A little roll of Velcro. You like to
Yeah.
have a little roll of Velcro, kind of a thing. One of my favorite things to have as a female on long motorcycle rides is I have a female urinal device called a Tinkle Bell, and I usually bring some wipes as well. So if you're stranded and you need a potty by the side of the road, this allows you to stand up and basically pee like a guy. Or if you get into a restroom that's not particularly clean or well kept, then again you can stand up and not have to interact with the dirtiness as much in the bathrooms. That's one of my favorite things. Having a bandana or hair tie or bobby pins, because the lovely helmet hair that you get as a girl with long hair, or even I guess if guys have long hair, they might have helmet hair too. But Zach doesn't normally have too much problem. He can just take his helmet off and it doesn't matter to him. But usually my hair's messed up. So
The secret is not caring.
so having a bandana or a hair tie or something like that might help as well. Also for ladies, having comfortable clothes, wearing layers, having cotton undergarments that are breathable and don't have a lot of seamage to them. But wearing layers is helpful too, so you can take off or put things on as you need.
And generally, as we're traveling, our first leg of a journey will often go extra, but we tend to stop every hour or so, or every 100 miles or so, somewhere in there, to get off the bike and stretch our legs and get a drink. And it's stuff that you can't do as much of that when you're on a bike as if you're in a car. So you have to think about that sort of thing, and your butt will let you know if it's had enough, for sure.
Yeah, I usually have my knee starts to ache, or my toes go numb, kind of a thing, if I'm leaning towards needing to get off and take a stretch, and straightening out my leg doesn't fix it.
But that's also going to be highly dependent on your bike and your seat and sort of your comfort level with that. So
some people like to add sheepskin seat padding to their seats, or put a sheepskin over their seats, and I've heard that helps.
Yeah, I've never tried it.
Traveling. Yeah, I haven't either.
People that swear by it.
Yeah.
When you're traveling, you're going to be, even if you have a windshield on your bike, you're going to be buffeted by the wind for, the whole thing. And if you're traveling long distances, you're probably traveling on a freeway, so you're going to be being buffeted by at least 65 mile an hour, probably more speed wind. So it gets tiring after a while. Even if all you're doing is just riding in a straight line, giving your attention to the road in front of you and being knocked around and clenched up and holding tight, not that you're gripping everything tightly, but just the act of remaining in control while you're being buffeted by that wind for 10 more hours, you get tired from that. You get worn down from it.
Your face feels fuzzy.
I honestly, even if I'm just driving in the truck all day, that'll make me tired too. So I think a lot of it has to be just the paying attention and keeping that sort of alertness level up for that long has to do with it. But definitely off of the bike, yeah, I get tired after being buffeted for several hours.
So trying to plan some downtime into your trip, once you get to your destination, Zach and I like to just kind of sit and chill, and we don't immediately jump into an activity usually. We like to kind of we'll get to a place, go find something to eat, kind of a thing, so we can sit down and stop moving and just enjoy being still for a couple of minutes. But keep that in mind as you take long trips, that by the time you get to the place where you're going to, you might be pretty exhausted. Whenever we got Mav almost home from Colorado, we hit about Albuquerque, and I was just exhausted. And I asked Zach, I was like, how much longer do we have? And he's like, oh, another 6 hours or so. And I was like, nope, I'm out. Peace out. I said, you need to find a hotel. I'm done, and we can pick this back up tomorrow. We'd
already been at it for 12, 13 hours, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the time we got into the hotel, both of us just crashed hard. Like, I don't even remember getting into the hotel or anything, but we were so sore, our bodies were so sore, and we were just exhausted because we've been on the road for like 13 hours nonstop on this new motorcycle coming from Colorado back into Arizona.
Another thing that you have to plan for and think about as you're getting ready for a trip is your storage and how you're going to manage that. Our last motorcycle was a Goldwing, a 98 Goldwing, a GL 1500.
SE.
Yep. And it was, I mean, it's a Cadillac. Like, there's so much storage on that thing. You can
2 panniers and a trunk and little front pockets and all kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can pack it full without a problem. But the Rocket doesn't have as much storage. The saddlebags that are on it are a little bit smaller, and it doesn't have a trunk. And I mean, we can make it work. There's a little tiny luggage rack that we can set our the little tea bag on and add some storage back there for a longer trip. And there's some ways we can strap things to all of that back end to expand the amount of things that we're able to carry. But it's definitely a consideration that you have to make as you're planning for your trip.
Talking about planning, you also have to take into account yours and your partner's planning. So Zac planning looks a lot different than Emma planning. And
Zac planning doesn't look like planning, is what she's saying.
Zac planning is more fly by the seat of your pants and we'll see what happens when we get there. And Emma planning is making lists and making sure that I have the things that I want or that I feel that I need to be successful on trips. So like, I'll also bring a little first aid kit with us. One of my favorite things though that a friend told me as we were working on planning and talking about trips and camping and just all different kinds of stuff like this. So we were talking about a trip we're going to go on to some other place, and then she said one of my favorite things to remember is that there's more at the store. And I was like, what? And she's like, say you forget something, you forget your pillow or you forget your sunscreen or your toothbrush, you can always stop at a store and buy those things. And I think that has really helped me personally a lot to remember that even if I forget to pack something or even if it doesn't fit, in the case of being on a motorcycle, then there's more at the store. Whenever we went camping recently, we didn't have space to put any food, like any food other than just like I said, the quick grab snacks kind of a thing. And I specifically planned it in that we weren't bringing food and we were going to find a store to stop at to buy food for the evening so we could cook it back at camp and stuff like that. And so I think for my own brain, that's eased a lot of my stress, is remembering that there's more at the store.
Another important thing to remember, whether you're riding with another motorcycle or in a group or with someone on the back seat, is communication, whatever that sort of form that takes. Emma and I rode a long time without any sort of comms, no Cardo or Senna or anything on our helmets. It was a tap on the shoulder and pointing and stopping at a light and lifting a visor and saying something. It was
predetermined gestures and things that we had talked about before we got on the road.
But we've moved on to having the Cardo systems in our helmets, which has been great because we can just hold regular conversation as we're traveling anywhere,
or listen to the radio or a podcast. Or
so it's important to have communication if you're traveling with someone.
And it's nice to have on long trips. It's not impossible to do it without the comm system, but it does make it a little more enjoyable that you can just kind of hold conversations back and forth and stuff like that. Whenever I rode with Papa Bear, he had on the Goldwing, it was a CB radio, and so we had these long cables that hooked from our helmets and into the bike and stuff, and so we used those for a really long time, and then the CB went out on his bike, and so we did kind of the same thing that Zac and I would do before we had comms, and just kind of a tap on the shoulder or hollering at each other as we stopped at stoplights or that kind of thing. And so we hope this has given you guys some ideas of what to use and take and how to make a long distance road trip a bit more comfortable. Let us know in the comments if you guys have any things that we didn't mention that you like to do on long rides. And
yeah, we're missing out on a game changer for sure. Let us know.
Yeah. Hope you have fun riding along rides.